Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Glad to have you around. My name is Nejib Friji. I'm the Senior Director of the International Peace Institute for the Middle East and North Africa. We are glad we are together from different continents of this planet to tackle a very important matter related to our region, in particular the Middle East and North Africa, and Africa in general, as both region and sub-region are struggling to achieve development in all its aspects. They remain, unfortunately, ones of the most disintegrated regions. Despite the structures, the history, the platforms, the agreements, the strategies that have been set since the independence of the majority or all the African countries and the MENA region, we witness a kind of delay in achieving developments despite the considerable efforts. And now that we have a new dimension in our new instrument in our life that has to be added or that has added to the efforts to achieve those goals, the artificial intelligence, the information technology, with all opportunities and chances it offers to help connect people, help connect ideas, help connect projects and strategies. We hope that we will reach this added value, at least in the efforts, hoping that we will generate through this webinar an additional element of the general debate and the general efforts deployed by individuals, private sector, institutions, multilateral system, and you name it, to have the artificial intelligence be as a ladder, I would say, or the platform that will help achieve or help the users, the societies, the states, and the regional integration, regional organizations to help clarify the way or chart the road towards achieving regional integration. Without further delay, I will just have Dalia to mention or welcome the guests. Dalia, please, you go ahead.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here today. I'd like to first welcome our speakers. So we'll be having a video message from Mr. Farid Belhaj, Vice President of the Middle East and North Africa of the World Bank. Then our speaker, Mr. Mehdi Takaya, President and Founder of WeView Group. Then Ms. Amal Seydan, CEO and Co-Founder of BetaCube. Dr. Sheikh Aisha Al Khalifa, CEO of SEIG. Ms. Tosin Arawojolu, Director of Membership for the Bahrain Business Women's Society Women in Tech chapter in Bahrain, and Ms. Maha Jwini, Head of African Center for Artificial Intelligence and Digital Technology.
Thank you very much, Dalia. Then I will request your attention to listen to the video message by our friend Farid Belhaj, Vice President of the World Bank for the Middle East and North Africa. Farid cannot make it given the time difference, so he kindly offered to send us this video message.
Good day, colleagues and friends. Unfortunately, I can't be with you today, but still wanted to make good use of technology to share some thoughts on this very important topic. How can we collectively advance the adoption and development of artificial intelligence to advance the sustainable development goals, achievements, and development outcomes in the Middle East and North Africa, our region. Let me also take this opportunity to thank my very good friend Nejib for this invitation, and allow me to also greet virtually the panelists who are with us today. Digital technologies have kept us globally connected over the past 2 years through this whole pandemic. During the pandemic, digital solutions have shown that it is possible to radically change the way development services can be delivered. They have enabled the continuation of businesses and education, allowed governments to provide services and growth of financial services. Artificial intelligence, understood as computer systems that can continuously scan their environment, learn from it, and take action in response to what they sense, as well as to human-defined objectives, has enormous potential. Adoption of AI has significantly accelerated over the last 5 years due to the diffusion of digital technologies and major breakthroughs in algorithmic capabilities, access to richer data, and increasing computing power. Artificial intelligence has proved critical to the pandemic response, helping to provide personalized services in health, accelerating vaccine development and new drugs discovery, and scaling new telemedicine and diagnosis services. In short, artificial intelligence is quickly becoming integrated in many aspects of our life, and this rapid integration into everyday life has generated widespread attention from industry, academics, policymakers. All of them want to understand better AI's role, impact, and trajectory. The potential of AI to disrupt the ways in which business and government operate is increasingly under discussion, and much of the discourse to date attempts to understand how this technology works, its economic and social implications, and how governments can respond. What is more important is that we expect that this induced growth will have positive impacts on job creation. Our World Bank report on jobs in the Middle East and North Africa shows that in the long term, unemployment could be tackled efficiently when all adults have adopted digital payment systems. The biggest beneficiaries will be the youth, given their tech savviness. Additionally, women will find it easier to get a job and contribute with their skills to the Middle East and North Africa economies. Indeed, we expect that in just 5 years, the proportion of women in the labor force could increase by about 1/3, reaching 30% overall. The United Arab Emirates and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are at the forefront as they develop their national AI strategy, established an enabling institutional setting, and adjusted some of their data-related laws for enabling the transformation. AI adoption is also rapidly gaining traction in Egypt, Morocco, in Jordan, as well as in Bahrain, Oman, and Tunisia. Let me emphasize one example of AI use that was mentioned in MENA. In December 2021, Swiss pharmaceutical and diagnostics giant Roche agreed to use the power of AI and cloud technology to improve outcomes for cancer patients across the Middle East and North Africa, and help healthcare providers embrace early adoption of new diagnostic tools. Breast cancer in Egypt accounts for the largest number of cases in females, whilst in male, it is second only to liver cancer. Early detection can significantly improve the chances of survival among patients, which in turn, of course, can be achieved through early screening, identification, and diagnosis, assisted by the latest AI and machine learning solutions. Beginning in Egypt, this effort is due to be rolled out across the whole region. While creating opportunities, AI also poses risks associated with data security, with privacy, with transparency, with safety, and data bias. And it can also fuel inequality if algorithms will segregate a group over the other. However, if regulated properly, these potential pitfalls can be avoided, and harnessing responsible AI can lead to economic growth, shared prosperity, and substantially greater welfare for our society. I'd like to highlight two clear implications of AI for the region. With relatively high unemployment, MENA can ill afford automation replacing jobs. Given the relatively low cost of labor in some countries in our region, at this stage, this is not a realistic proposition. But in the long term, it could affect competitiveness and innovation. It is imperative to increase the positive spillover effect with labor in other sectors across the full value chain. Second, developing and supporting AI applications will largely require highly skilled software developers and data scientists. At this stage, we are experiencing brain drain of young men and women with advanced skills and concentration of such talent in a few clusters or cities in the region. MENA countries need to ensure the availability of these human resources, encourage young women participation, embrace STEM education, and offer more reasons to stay in the region, through high standards of living, through offering more opportunities. Saudi Arabia, again, is providing a good practice as the kingdom aims to transform its workforce by training and developing a pool of 20,000 AI and data specialists and experts, of whom 5,000 will be equipped with strong skills and will be highly qualified in line with the national strategy for data and AI too. The World Bank is committed to achieving inclusive, resilient, and safe digital transformation while mitigating risks. The World Bank is mobilizing financing and support for private sector application to promote equitable digital transformation strategies in the Middle East and North Africa countries. The World Bank is working to develop better digital regulations and policies and closing the new digital divide. All of these are, ideas, potential possibilities for our region, for the youth of our region. And all of these are openings to driving the job market to other heights. Our main issue in the Middle East and North Africa today is the unemployment of young people. One number is striking. By 2050, through current demographic trends, we will be looking at more than 300 million young people knocking at the door of the job market. And these young people will not find a job in the public sector. The private sector is the driver. AI and the digitalization of our economies will open wide the doors for this private sector and for these new jobs. Thank you very much, and best wishes for the rest of the event.
Thank you very much, dear friend Farid. Indeed, challenging situation in our region, in Africa, and certainly in other parts of the world. Now I will give the floor to Mr. Mahdi Tqaya. He's the founder and CEO of WeView, a consulting and system integration group with offices in Paris, Tunis, Algiers, Abidjan, and Dubai. He started his career as a supply chain consultant in Paris, then joined a leading European third-party logistics company, where he supported the implementation of large European outsourcing programs in the late 90s. He joined a niche French strategy consulting firm as a partner and moved to the Middle East to establish and develop the firm's regional businesses and activities. WeView employs today more than 360 engineers, delivering consulting, digital transformation, and innovation projects to their international clients. Since its inception in 1998, WeView is supporting large regional organizations in the Middle East, in the EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa region, and with over 360 engineers, as I said, and employees, and projects delivered in more than 30 countries. WeView works with clients in the industry and supply chain, banking and financial services, and public sector. Mahdi, we'd like to listen to you with how challenging the situation and what are the ways to tackle these challenges. The floor is yours, my friend. Mahdi, we need the audio. Mahdi, you are muted.
Yeah, thank you. I'm mute, but can you unmute me?
Yes, you are unmuted. You are unmuted.
So,
Go ahead, Mahdi.
It's okay now?
Yes.
Nejib?
Yes,
Okay.
Mahdi.
So, Nejib, so thank you, Nejib, for inviting me to this panel. Thank you for IPI for organizing this webinar. So as you mentioned earlier, I have a long experience in the digital world. This is what we do as a review. We have as well an experience, and we are specializing in terms of region in Middle East and Africa. So we have been witnessing for the last 20 years the evolution of the digital world in the Middle East and Africa, and we are as well in the forefront, in an ideal position to see and to witness the evolution of AI in this region. What I want to add, and this is what Mr. Farid Belhaj mentioned earlier, AI is not new. AI as a technology existed for the last 30, 40 years. What changed, in fact, in the last few years is the capacity and computation capacity of the computers. What changed as well is the massive availability of data, which allowed all these startups, tech experts, etc., to develop new application and new usage of AI based on these data. So if we focus on the Middle East, what do we have today? We have a fantastic pool of talents. We have many brilliant, smart engineers who are, by the way, moving and migrating to Europe and the US more and more. We have an AI technology which is easy, which has an easy access, can be accessible to everybody. So we can, from Tunis, from Algiers, from Dubai, from Riyadh, from everywhere, develop the smartest AI algorithm, apply them. What we miss actually today is the data. The data is key and is the fuel of AI. And data, having the data means what we require to have the data. We need to have a massive digitalization effort into the organization, and this is a prerequisite. And this is what we are like. These algorithms that we can find, and as I said, that we can find them for the last 30, 40 years, need data to be trained, need data in order to develop a new usage. So I think the key challenge for our region is to be able to drive this digitization effort at the government level, at the public sector level, as well as at the individual company and corporate level. Some of the countries have moved massively into this AI and data strategy. I can mention Saudi Arabia, and with the availability of data, you can have new usages, you can have startups coming into the picture, and you can create new opportunities. What I want as well to add, prior to leaving the floor to Amal, is that in our region, if I take the example of my company, more than 55% of the employees are ladies. Why? Because in Tunisia, if I take the example of Tunisia, the majority of the engineers that we hire and that are graduated from the engineering schools are ladies. And this is a great opportunity to have job opportunities and to bring ladies into this world. And of course, it's a need with AI and with the developing this solution. These young talents will have access to a global world. As I mentioned earlier, and I'll leave the floor to Amal, we have co-founded with Amal BetaCube with the startup venture builder, and which is in the heart of the AI technology. So let me leave the floor to Amal, who will maybe explore more what we are doing into this area and what is happening in the the region as far as the startup ecosystem is concerned.
Thank you, Mahdi. You highlighted the two important elements: the availability of data, that is, as you said, the fuel or the engine for artificial intelligence and IT to be actively involved and efficient. And you mentioned the important role of women, which is quite interesting and important. I will now introduce Madame Amal Saidan. She's an entrepreneur, an ecosystem builder, and a digital transformation expert. She's president of the Tunisian Startups, co-founder of BetaQ, a venture builder in fintech and mobility solutions, and co-founder of Digital 2 Value, an SME digital transformation platform. She's also a member of the Startup Act, College and Startups, the BMW Responsible Leaders Network, and a fellow of the BMW Ready Go program. As a management consultant specializing in digital transformation and business strategy, she is also a board member of the Digital Center of Excellence at the UN Economic Commission for Africa, the ECA, and as Tunisia's steering committee member for Digital Arab Network, a platform supporting the digital transformation in the Arab world. Amal, you have the floor, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much, dear Nejib. Thank you, Mahdi. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss actually the good, the bad, and the ugly about the AI. When it comes to AI, there are justifiable concerns about the jobs and that arise from the automation roles that the AI enables. What Mr. Belhaj has highlighted, actually, especially in a region with severe employment challenges and a high proportion of these jobs being repeatable and therefore subject to automation. Concerns from topics like autonomous weapons, for instance, speaking about peace. So the impact of some AI-enabled spaces and forums that can have an impact on the democratic process in many countries, and even things emerging like deep fakes, which like you can imagine a video that is created with AI that looks and sounds like your president or an important person or a public figure saying something that was that they have never said actually. And so these are use cases and risks that are emerging and that we just need to be aware of and manage properly. And that's why these platforms and this type of conversations are so critical actually. So there have been also a lot of controversies around facial recognition softwares not working properly as well for women, for people of color, because it was trained on a biased data set, which has too many white guys in it. Controversies around Siri responding at blush, if I could, to a sexual insult, for example. I refer to the UNESCO report, which was really amazing. Telling about the bias that is generated by typically white male with in Eastern Europe with young guys with hoodies sitting and programming, and this type of response Siri would come up, or Cortana or Google Home or what have you. But it goes also without saying that tech and particularly AI can solve global problems and also problems in our region. So better matching of skills in the world of work, solving the water scarcity problems, heat problems, mobility problems, environment. And mashallah, our region is full of interesting challenges that can be solved through technologies and through disruptive ideas and through startups and exponential approaches. Because one key element here is that the linear approach to solving problems and the incremental approach to solving problems is not going to be sufficient. Mr. Belhaj has highlighted earlier that we will have 300 million people looking for jobs by 2050, or youth looking for jobs. And this is not a problem we can tackle through incremental change. So we need some disruptive way of looking at things. And that's why we're focusing on startups and finding ways to solve our big problems or in an exponential disruptive way. So these issues in the MENA cities, and of course, this is not feasible without the tech and AI, considering the scale and speed of evolution of the whole world in general. So I'd like to, for our conversation today, probably to highlight two dimensions. Very briefly, two dimensions that are shaping the role of AI in the world, but also in our regions. So speaking about ethics of AI and the platform economy. So when we speak about ethics of AI today, it's clear that it goes beyond privacy. So it includes the right to equality and non-discrimination. It should be promoting diversity and inclusion. AI and tech should be also holding public and private sectors to account through transparency and traceability solutions, but also we need the technology that's human-centric and solving problems that are related to human and SDGs. Publicly disclose where machine learning systems are used in the public sphere, referring to for example, to the very controversial Chinese credit scoring system. Enable independent analysis and oversight by using systems that are auditable, avoiding the black box systems. And this is a big challenge and big conversation in the Arab region, for instance, that cannot be subjected to meaningful standards of accountability and transparency. There are also plenty of examples showing how machine learning can reinforce patterns of inequality and issues rising from using a non-representative biased data sets. So when we say AI ethics, we are talking according to which referential? To which system, to who defines actually the rules of the game when we talk about the ethics of AI. So when we look at Tencent, for example, that has created an AI for social good platform back in 2018, before even Google has launched a program with the same name. So, and we know that the approach to ethics and to ethics of AI might be different on both sides. So when we speak about social credit score system, for example, China is today exporting this social system and this social model. So it's not only about an AI model or a system, it's turning into a social model with related ethics. So in the medium and long term, which was a bit delayed through the COVID crisis, but it's coming again. So all companies and persons who come in contact with Chinese platforms and who will be affected by this social scoring system, and perhaps maybe its derivatives, international version, European version, African version, what have you. So we could assume that all foreign companies that want to enter the Chinese market will have to go through the Chinese platforms or associated agencies. So the incentive for foreign companies to comply with the rules of Chinese platforms is actually pretty high. And this social scoring system becomes relevant to foreign companies as well, reinforcing the dominance of this type of models. And of course, to the related economies. So now to the other dimension, the global platform economy. So the shift of economies into virtual spaces and the migration of enterprises to platforms that are supported definitely by machine learning is having actually serious implications on national and international structures. So there are some indications that the technologies used here, and mainly machine learning and AI, and the required data storage will lead to centralization, meaning that the skills are getting very scarce, and there is a high capital intensity that's required. So maybe only countries or spaces who can afford to have both of these combined will be leading or are leading today in the platform economy space, which means a lot in terms of implications on the sovereignty of states and the shifting the power paradigms in the world. So building such platforms is a capital intensive and might require to have an influence on the private sector, which is probably the case of some countries. And so China there is an influence on the private sector. In the US, it's the other way around. So maybe you can imagine a third model maybe applicable to the Middle East and Africa, where we have rather than just regulating global corporate platforms, we have the states who creates public platforms that are owned and controlled by the people. So like building infrastructure, like building roads, the states in the Middle East and Africa region could join efforts to build platforms that are operated by people and private sector players, instead of having a set of Kareems and souks who are generating data, but eventually get acquired by the Amazons and the like, by the tech giants. So we lose all this data sources that have been created, and we lose the sovereignty on this data. So maybe these platforms are the hope when it comes to connecting economically this fragmented region, and probably political borders will become less important if the economic agendas are aligned. So in an additional, and I close with this, so platforms work best when they are big enough, and they can serve the largest possible crowd or community, which will further fuel actually the drive for globalization, consolidation, and monopolization. So the positioning of any country in the world will also depend on the power of its platforms and access to technology. So unless we manage to create very quickly a meta level of regional integration, Middle East and Africa will continue to be completely left out of the game. So Middle East and Africa is definitely not a leader in digital today compared to the rest of the players in the world. There is progress, but we need to move faster. So the game is already being redefined. Strategic positioning is already being sought by all players. So unless we have access to gigantic volumes of quality data and developing the capability to make some sense out of this data, we will have, so this is what will need to happen so that we can have a proper place in this game in the future.
Thank you, Amal. This is very, very interesting. And thank you for highlighting, I would say, two broad matters, the need for platforms, and those platforms should be built on the ethics of artificial intelligence. And of course, that you now opened a very important window, or I would say highway, for debate and discussion and work on the universal values dimension of IA, if implemented according to your vision through the platforms where accountability, transparency, all the other universal values against hatred, regional integration, dialogue among cooperation, I would say, for the sake of sustainable development. Amal, we certainly have a long journey together. We will get back to you on that. Thank you so much. Now I will not move far away from where I am. I'll stay in Bahrain, and I will invite Dr. Sheikha Aisha Al Khalifa. She is founder and CEO of the software company Friji, Bahrain. She is specialized in computer science, artificial intelligence, and cognitive science. She was also an advisor to the University of Bahrain president. She was the first Bahraini woman to receive US patent for a computer program, and was among 47 outstanding Bahraini women pioneers awarded during the Supreme Council for Women's Bahrain Women's Day celebration in 2019. And congratulations for that, Sheikh Aisha. I will give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's a pleasure to speak here, especially about my beloved specialization. Perhaps to give a little history, I got my first degree in artificial intelligence in the year 1990 from the University of George Washington. And I got a master's from there. After that, AI took a dive because it did not get global attention. After that, algorithms started to advance a little more, and AI started to pick up again. So I can speak about a lot of different things. Concerning Friji, what we are doing locally is trying to use AI to with a security program that we developed. It's an identity management program. Just to give you an example of how AI works, it looks at data, it studies data, it tries to find major trends in data, and based upon that, it learns the new trends. So the way we are using it is that we're trying to find out if a hacker is using a system that is used by an organization. So we enter all the data of the organization into the AI. It understands how the employees are working. So if anyone comes in and has a behavior that is different than the norm, it will highlight that behavior. Perhaps to just give my opinion on what's happening internationally with AI and the things that emerge with AI, because the AI works by generalization, what it does is that it reinforces opinion. So in a way, an AI extracts a trend if a lot of people are following that specific trend, or if all the data that is entered has that trend. So if there are two conflicting trends with two different groups of people, the AI system will have a problem of having one above the other. But if a lot of the data is biased to a specific opinion or a specific style, then it will extract that and neglect everything else. And perhaps this is where the differences and the problems and everything with AI happens. The way to control this, and I'm a technical person, not a politician, the way to control this from a technical way is to find out something called the error and comparing the results with what you expected to do. So it is possible to have programs that will check the responses and the conclusions, get feedback on that, and continually teach it how to redirect it in a way that is more smoothly aligned with expectations. And basically it is a tool, and just like with all tools, it depends on how we use the tool. So our use of AI in Bahrain is to try and prevent criminal behavior by hackers and people like that. And yes, it is creating new jobs, it's creating new opportunities for the young people. And I think in the MENA region, we are proud of our young people because they are so ambitious and they want to learn. And we like to encourage them as much as possible to contribute, especially in this new field that needs a lot of new people and young people. And that is my honest opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aisha Al-Khalifa. Very, very important initiative to highlight your role in securing this very important system and I would say structure, as cyber crime has been the real challenge, not only in Bahrain, but around the world. So all these preventive measures are most welcome and should be developed in line with the right track that we are hoping for to achieve development through the IA important dimension. Now I will give the floor to our next speaker, my friend Tosin Arawujulu, Director of Membership in Bahrain Business Women's Society, Women in Tech, Bahrain chapter. She is also an engineer, a certified coach, and leadership development consultant. Tosin, you have the floor, my friend.
Good morning, all. A very big thank you to Mr. Nejib for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this morning. I'll just give a brief background about the Bahrain Business Women and also the Women in Tech organization. Like Mr. Mehdi said earlier, we have a very interesting paradox here in the Middle East, where many countries, women actually form 57% in the STEM sector. So STEM graduates, 57 are women. So how can we harness that? Well, first of all, I'll talk about the Bahrain Business Women, which was founded in 2000 to create a platform focused on empowering female entrepreneurs within Bahrain under the leadership of our president, Mrs. Ahlam Janahi. And our aim is to strengthen the role of women and their contribution to all commercial, economic investment, and development activities in the country. Now, we have teamed up with Women in Tech organization, which is based in Paris, France, and was founded in 2018 by Ayumi Moore Ayoki. The mission is to achieve women empowerment in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are 4 areas that are under consideration, which are education, entrepreneurship, social inclusion, science, and technology. So in September of last year, the 2 organizations formed the Bahrain chapter. And our goal is to empower businesswomen and young entrepreneurs with the necessary skills to succeed in STEM career fields, foster mentorship programs, pursue research and innovative activities, build business networks and opportunities, and also promote cultural diversity. Now, just a brief introduction about our leadership team. We have Doris Martin, who is our chapter ambassador. We also have Samira Al-Kahuji, the program director, Fatun Hajar, our legal director, Hala Suleiman, the WHEAT commercial director. We have an advisory board, which includes Dr. Isha bint Mohammed Al-Khalifa. We just heard from her. We also have Amjad El-Najal, Natasha Nicole from Ernst & Young, Pakisa Abdurrahman, Saleh Abbas. And as we speak, Doris Martin and Pakiza Abdurrahman are representing the Bahrain chapter at the Women in Tech Summit, which is being held today and tomorrow in Paris, France. So since our inception, I'll just touch on a few events that we've done so far. We had a Women in Tech Awareness event in collaboration with Manama Entrepreneurship Week in October of last year. We've also had tech talks where we had representatives talking about smart cities, artificial intelligence, just like Dr. Shah just mentioned, startups, venture capital, law and policies. And this was done in collaboration with the Commercial Law Development Program of the US Department of Commerce. We have also represented, we also participated in Dubai for the Wealthy Summit, which is the Women Empowered Legacies through Trade and Investment. And also we participated in the Women in Tech MENA Summit in Sharjah. Both were held in March as part of the International Women's Day or Women's Month celebration. We are planning to do more events. And so I would like to use this opportunity for the sake of time to invite you to join us, particularly if you are here in Bahrain. I will put a link. Membership is free and open to both men and women. And so I'd like to invite you to join us. As of now, the Women in Tech Global has over 100,000 members, and several chapters around the world. So I look forward to having you join and become a part of our chapter here in Bahrain. If you're not in Bahrain, then please join a chapter in your local area. Thank you so much for this opportunity and time. Back to you, Mr.
Thank you, Tosin, for this generous invitation and the introduction of your team members whom I've been working with the majority of whom I've been working with on different levels. Thank you so much. Now I will give the floor to the president of the Royal University of Women in Bahrain, our dear friend Yusra Al-Muzoghi. Yusra, I know you're running one of the most vibrant women academic institutions in Bahrain, and you are a live wire as well in terms of education and AI, and I'm sure you have a few things important to add to our webinar. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Nejib, and thank you all colleagues for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit of insights into what we're doing here at the university. Always an absolute pleasure to hear what's going on in the rest of the community and the region in terms of this very vibrant area. I must also apologize, it's very embarrassing to say I had connection problems when you're talking about AI and technology, but I did have connection problems, so apologies for coming in late this morning. But as I always say, I'm new to the university. I've been here just over a year now. But in this year, we've managed to develop a new strategic plan for the university, a new 5-year plan, 2022 to 2027. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think of relevance is one of our core objectives, is to future-proof all of our operations, to make sure that whatever we do, whether it's our products, whether it's our processes, or whether it is our, whatever we're doing, we want to make sure that we are current and future-proofing our processes. So I think this is very relevant to what we're talking about today. So as part of that, or as a spin-off from that, we are awaiting, inshallah, final approval from the Ministry of, or the Higher Education Council, I should say, for 2 very exciting new programs in this area. One in the Internet of Things, master's programs in the Internet of Things, and the other in business intelligence and data analytics, which kind of gives you an idea of the space we're moving into in terms of the work we're doing as a university. Now, I should add that these master's programs, because they are hosted programs, they will be open to both male and female. So we're kind of trying to expand the area of work. The undergraduate program, which will be for girls only, and we do have approval for that, so that'll be launching in September, is digital media and interactive technologies. And you can see here the kind of the reliance on technology, digitalization, AI is coming into everything in education. Funnily enough, I was reading a report this morning in one of the economic forums, I think, and it's talking about how the development in education is very much based on technology, the use of technology, digitalization, etc. So there's a lot of work going on in that space. We do also understand that this, for some people, is not a full-time degree. This is about upping your skill set more so than engaging in a full-time degree. So we're offering a range of executive education programs around cybersecurity and the Internet of Things. But we're doing it slightly differently, I believe, in that we're reaching out to sectors that maybe are not so well resourced in this area or so well served in this area. So we have a specific course for teenagers. We have a specific course for parents. And the one for parents, we're offering in Arabic as well, to make sure that we're reaching out to the hard-to-reach sectors of community. I mean, it's all good and well having cybersecurity for banks, but they have that anyway. But having cybersecurity for parents, and as a parent, I know that our teenagers are probably not well, what happens in the virtual space can be worrying to some of us. So I just think we need to be making sure that we're doing our part to help that community. We obviously have a strategic link with the Supreme Council for Women. We're delighted to say that we have a very strong partnership with the Supreme Council for Women. As a result of that partnership, we have launched the Women's Research Centre. and we're formalizing some arrangements around that in terms of resourcing and financing, etc. But one of the themes of the research center is looking at how technology and women, and how are women represented in the new sectors, and how women can be better prepared to engage in this new and vibrant sector. So there's a lot going on. But I'll tell you something, from a kind of a personal perspective, I do think that what industries, and we have people from industry here, so you can help me, what industry is looking for is not a tech specialist. I always say this to colleagues in work. They're not looking for a pure tech specialist. They're looking for an accountant who knows how to use AI to do accounting. They're looking for an engineer who knows how to use AI to do their engineering work. They're looking for a lawyer who understands the implications of digital and on ethics and law. I think we need to make sure that we're embedding a deeper understanding of technology and digitalizations and AI into our core disciplines. I do not think the times of the core disciplines have gone away, the law and the business and the engineering and the art and design. So, art and design is now moved into, how you can use technology to create graphics, you can use technology for fashion design, but we shouldn't be moving away from those. So not everybody needs to do a full degree in technology is basically our premise here. It is making sure that we equip this next generation with all the skills to enable them, I always say this, to remain employed and employable. So we need to make sure that they can get jobs and remain in those jobs so that they don't, become obsolete, they don't stale out. So that's the kind of philosophy we're approaching the whole situation. I don't think there's a simple answer to it at all. I think that we have to be very wise and very considered. The technology moves at such a pace that it's very difficult to keep up with it. And therefore, we need to make sure that our staff are well trained in this area, that we're using the latest technology and that we're embedding it in the right places. There is a need for some specialists, but every company needs 1 or 2 tech specialists. It doesn't need 500 tech specialists. So that's the approach we're taking. So some very interesting work going on. Really delighted to hear that what's happening in our surroundings in this field, and it's good to see that we can all complement each other. I don't think any of us can do this on our own. So wonderful to be able to hear what the others are doing, and thank you very much for allowing me to share at least our perspective on this and the work that is happening, because it's very exciting times here at the university, at the Royal University for Women. So I do encourage you to keep an eye out and follow us on our social media platforms, because there's a lot going on there. So looking forward to seeing you all, and thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you,
Mr.
Thank you, Madam Yusra Mzouri, and of course you highlighted an important element or dimension of AI, that it has to be the dimension or the prerequisite, as Mahdi said earlier, the prerequisite for all learners. I would also highlight the need that AI should be the dimension of education from day one for each individual. And I think from the, I would say the kindergarten to primary to high school and so on and so on, as you said, it has to be the dimension of each sector, each engineer, each doctor, each worker, each civil servant has to be equipped with the AI. And I think we will get back to you on that, to devote some of our time and effort to highlight the role of AI in education. And thank you again for joining us. My last speaker is Madame Mahajwini from the African Center for Artificial Intelligence and Digital Technology. She is based in Mauritania. Maha, you have the floor. Unmute.
Thank you for your kind invitation. I'm Mahajwini. I'm based in Mauritania. I launched the African Center for Artificial Intelligence and Digital Technology last year. I was in a partnership with Africa ICT Research, African Rebirth, Africa iPolicy. We were Pan-African activists working on decolonizing the artificial intelligence, because by the time we realized that it's not only to advocate for AI ethics, like Madame Amel Ben Saidin mentioned before me, but also we have to implement a national policy, a digital sovereignty, to make sure that AI is well implemented, AI respect human rights, women inclusion, youth inclusion, and also AI will be a real leverage for digital economy. I want to highlight that the country and models which were mentioned before, such Saudi Arabia and Emirates, Bahrain, and so on. These countries are considered as rich, and they have already the good infrastructures which enable them to help youth and women in tech entrepreneurship. However, I'm based in Mauritania, and I have a partnership with the University of Gharian in Libya, and I know very well the situation of youth and women there. In Mauritania, for example, it's a country where it's very known that youth and child quit school at a very early age, in a way that if we want to teach artificial intelligence or technology, we will find many difficulties to reach those communities. Also, the infrastructure in the education field, it's not also equal. I give an example. Courses like STEM courses, it's only given in international schools. In the public schools, especially the ones in the rural area, we won't find any computers. We may face the electricity shutdown and so on. The case in Libya is worse, because it's a country where still people are facing civil war, as well as in Somalia, as well as Ethiopia, some rural area in Kenya. Well, so from my perspective, if we really want to implement a regional policy for a true regional integration, we have to understand the local situation in each country. Also, we have to advocate for AI ethics and call for youth inclusion in poor region, and where people they are not able to study AI and computer sciences. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was our last speaker. I will open the floor for any comment or any remarks. I will be very happy to listen to that. Any follow-up from our speakers if they need to further comment or elaborate on any or other element that has been raised by the different speakers. I see none.
Yes, Amal put her hand up.
Amal, please.
Thank you very much. So if there are any no questions, I would love to go back and highlight the role startups have actually in our region, and the bigger role they should have in our region. So we see an early stage startups emerging everywhere in the MENA region, but also in Africa. So this should be actually part or even a pillar of any AI strategy or digital transformation strategy in every country. So, and when we think of startups, we should be thinking of them as an enabler of this or accelerator of this transformation, and therefore try to be aware of the challenges these startups are facing in our region, challenges related to adequate financing. Things are moving very fast in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, and other countries in the Gulf region, but much slower in North Africa and other parts in Western Africa, for instance, when it comes to financing. We have also facing a lot of regulation related issues and interoperability of regulations. So if we, for example, look at the fintech space, startups are finding it very difficult to grow beyond their own borders because of a lot of interoperability issues. We have also challenges related to mobility of people. So when we speak about the advantages and use cases of AI and tech in our region, we should also keep in mind that there are real challenges on the field that might need to be solved, or that need to be solved urgently in order to allow startups to compete internationally. So intelligence is evenly distributed around the world. So it's really about creating the conducive ecosystem for this talent to transform challenges and pain points that we're facing as societies and economies into an opportunity.
Thank you, Amal. I would like to further follow up with you on the startups and then their role in economy. Now, you called for highlighted their importance, and could you maybe elaborate on their role in not only in invigorating the economy, but also in Connect? I see that you are now in Côte d'Ivoire and moving from different parts of the world, and you are connecting the other ends of this very, very various and diverse, I would say, world, which is the sky is the limit. How could you see the role of the startups within the global picture, adding the value to bringing people together, and of course, maybe playing a key role in achieving the objective of regional integration, both in Africa and in the MENA region?
Absolutely, thank you, Nejib. So when we look at the pace of the evolution of every single startup and the evolution of the valuation of these startups, so we were speaking lately about InstaDeep, Tunisian startup that had specialized in AI. By the way, born in Tunisia and raised $100 million lately to grow in Europe and worldwide. They have collaborated with to create an incubator for it's actually the cure for COVID-19. Forgot the name. Anyways, so this rapid pace of evolution of startups within 3-5 years, reaching valuations and economic contributions that go beyond any valuation of existing government agencies or classical companies, is actually the type of economic growth that we need in our countries, especially when we look at startups in the US that account for more than 20% of net job creations, for instance, and in Europe is even more than 15%. So this is the type of contributions that we're looking for. Plus this capability to imagine creative solutions for our problems. So we always go back to the same example in Africa, for instance, with the M-Pesa and the mobile payment in Kenya, offering inclusive solutions for everyone to be connected financially and take ownership of their economic development, including all the marginalized populations. So this is the type of solutions we're looking for. However, our value proposition as a continent hasn't evolved much since then. So we keep, since for the last 10 years, reiterating on this mobile payment solution, M-Pesa solution, but we need actually to add more into our narrative and into our examples of startups solving our problems in our region. So we are counting today more than 6 or 7 unicorns in the continent, which is good, which makes actually the whole world look at our continent and see where is the opportunity, how can we contribute. I think we need to move to a stage where we own our narrative as a continent, as a region, and tell a new story to the world, so that the contributions of funding and of attention of international partners doesn't happen in a random way, or at least is aligned with our own agenda and what we'd like to drive in the region as an agenda.
Thank you very much. I think I understand that Mr. Mahdi Qaya has requested the floor for a question or a remark, I would say. Mahdi, you have the floor.
You're on mute, Mahdi.
You're muted.
Okay. How is it now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello. Yes. So what I was mentioning, what I wanted to add is on the opportunities that AI brings. We can see AI as a risk, as it was mentioned earlier. It is a risk. It is a risk because AI is changing our way of doing things. It's changing, transforming jobs. If I take an example, our job as an IT company, as a developer, is changing. If you take the new technology such as the low-code technology is a technology, and more generally, the no-code technology is a technology which, in a way, makes the job of the developer transforms and changes and replaces the job of the developer. So you can say somehow it's a risk for my company, it's a risk for my people, because these new technologies will somehow destroy my jobs. But I don't see it this way, and we should not see it this way, because somehow what we are doing in the company, in my company, we are shifting and transforming all the engineers with the old technology into low-code technology, which is creating a new and very large and very vast opportunities of jobs. So somehow what we are facing with AI and with technology in general is a major change in our way of doing things. And our jobs of today's jobs will not be our tomorrow jobs. And things are moving very rapidly. So we can be somehow scared, but we should not. We should see it as an opportunity to do new things. We should see it as an opportunity to create new jobs and a new world. And this is something what we need as in our region to work on in order to be part of this new world, because the world is moving and changing rapidly. We can be part of it. We can be part of it by having the right skills. We can be part of it by having the right use cases. We can be part of it with having the right available data to everybody to enable startups to create new ventures and to grow locally and then internationally. So a proper strategy, digital strategy, can create new jobs opportunities and can bring us in the forefront of what's happening in the world.
Thank you, Mahdi, for this positive vision, and I think you also agree that in each challenge there is an opportunity, and you kind of joined the concern of our friend Farid Belhaj with the hundreds of millions of people, women and men, flocking in the employment market in the already now and in the near future. So we need a positive approach to the role of AI to solve, among others, the crucial problems topped by unemployment. I see the Gulf Daily News has questions. Please go ahead.
The Daily Tribune.
So the Daily Tribune, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, sir. Thank you very much. My name is Shrikant. I am a reporter with Daily Tribune. We have already published around 12 to 15 reports on online banking scammers in the past 1 year. So when a scam happens, the victim first approaches the bank. The bank says it's not our problem. You have to check with the online payment transfer app company. So when he goes there, they say you file a complaint with police. And the police says we will definitely probe into it, but then it is the primary responsibility of the bank. So if had it happened 10 years ago, if I lose money from my account, the bank would have returned me, without any ambiguity. Now, the problem is when we embrace latest technologies, especially in the financial sector, there is a dilution of accountability from the stakeholders. So how can we address this issue, like the dilution of accountability, when we embrace latest technologies, especially in the financial and banking sector? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is the role of media, bringing us down to earth with the concrete and daily problems of many of us. Who would like to take this question? Yes. Do I see any hand? No. Dr. Manai is not raising his hand. Yes, Amal, thank you for, and Mahdi later.
Yeah, I could give it a shot, try. So I think this is a very interesting question because it feels like a transition phase from a very centralized type of architecture models towards a decentralized model enabled by blockchain and other technologies. We are somewhere in the middle, and that's why we are talking we're very much speaking about interoperability of systems. So if the interoperability and integration of system is working properly, we wouldn't have any challenges to identify where the problem happened exactly, and therefore the accountability for this problem. Of course, it's easier now to push back and say, no, it's their fault because this interoperability and integration is not happening perfectly. I would assume that with the new wave coming from with the Web3 and all the decentralized technologies that will support this type of transformation, we will not have this type of challenges in the future, because the transparency and traceability are intrinsic components of all this all these technologies and systems. So nobody will say, no, it wasn't me. So I think it's a temporary type of transition phase, and theoretically, technically, every thing is logged and every challenge can be traced. So, and then afterward, but if politically someone pushes back on their accountability and responsibilities, this is definitely something else.
Thank you, Amal. I will give the floor to Mahdi to follow up on this question. Yes, Mahdi, you have the floor. Mahdi, unmute yourself, please.
I would say exactly the same thing, and I'll add on to what Amal mentioned. The technology is mature enough today to avoid these kind of issues. So if there is a problem, it has to be investigated properly. This is the first answer. First answer is that from a technology point of view, I don't see today major challenges for such common transactions. Then the second answer, I would say, is commercial, and the bank would have and should have probably done an effort to resolve this problem differently. If I take the e-commerce strategy and the major e-commerce companies, whenever they have these kind of challenges, they take they solve the problem, they compensate the client. Why? Because somehow the brand is much more important than addressing small challenges like this. So the first answer is technology. Technology is their second answer. I mean, it has to be a commercial answer, and the whoever wants to go into the e-commerce arena has to have the proper customer service strategy, and addressing these kind of challenges is key in making client satisfaction high and the priority.
Thank you, Mahdi. This brings us to an important element, which is the challenges within this very important and promising and futuristic sector, cyber crime. And of course, wherever you open a new gate in our life, there is also the sad dimension of it, the negative dimension of it, which is crime. I think if anybody can elaborate on what preventive measures and policies and strategies are taken to prevent the cybercrime being, of course, used and in organized crime, in other, I would say, liabilities in this sector. No. Therefore, we will yes, I think GDN, Gulf Daily News, Hussein Arif, has a question to Dr. Sheikha Aisha. The question I'm reading now: is there, from the perspective of SEGI, a growth or increase in Bahrain companies trying or starting to integrate artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence related technology to their businesses? Or rather, is there a current noticeable awareness in this technology in the private sectors, considering the rising awareness and integration of the technology globally? Yes, Dr. Aisha.
Yes, it will be a pleasure to answer this question. Yes, indeed, there is an increased awareness in the private sector concerning artificial intelligence, and it is there are a number of companies that I know about that are trying to integrate it into their products, just like us. We're trying to integrate it, and we have succeeded to a certain extent to integrate it into this security program, the identity management program. There are a number of fintech companies that are trying to integrate it into fintech solutions. Maybe that will help with the bank issue. I'm not sure what their goals are, so I cannot speak on their behalf. And there is also at least one company that I know about that's also based in Bahrain that has integrated it into translation into Arabic. So these are the ones that I am aware of, and they are increasing with time, alhamdulillah, in Bahrain. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. And I think that my friend Abdurrahim Fakhru raised his hand for a question or a remark. Abdurrahim, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Farage, Nejib. Well, regarding security, it is a very important issue. And we are talking about very rapid changing technology applied and used commercially as well. It is the law and applying new laws which will make this more secure. For us in Bahrain, we have to pass the cyber laws, new laws, to be very clear to the people, and it should be applied as well. And somebody who should take the responsibility to be the account manager for these laws. In this way, I am sure that this will continuously, simultaneously with the rapid change of technology, the laws also should be changed and applied, so we secure our interest and investment. This is very important as we have come through now. A lot of laws should be changed due to the recent application of new technologies and becoming more into the as they say, commerce. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no comments unless my friends, I can see. I will give the last word to my dear friend, the Korean ambassador. Please, my friend, take the floor.
Thank you very much, and I very much appreciated insightful presentation and also comments. I would like to just make one comment. It could be a question if there is any answer. The one comment is, nobody can deny the artificial intelligence will be the future engine for the world global growth and also the welfare. And at the same time, one issue is regarding the focus of the data transfer, because in the artificial intelligence, the data is the essence, but at the same time, this data transfer has the characteristics of internationalization. So that's why there are a lot of discussion about data sovereignty and also free flow of the data for the future artificial intelligence development. So I observed that maybe last week, there was some launch of the Indian Pacific economic framework in Japan among the 13 countries. And one of the important agenda is kind of dealing with data sovereignty and also free flow of the data matters, and also the global governance about data management. So because on these data management matters, it cannot be managed by only one country. It should be managed by the international cooperation. So that's why I mean, as I mentioned, the Indian Pacific economic framework, maybe in the MENA region also needs that kind of cooperation about data governance and also data sovereignty and also free flow of the data matters too. So I wonder just whether there is that kind of a discussion or arrangement in the MENA region, and also regarding that aspect, maybe we also have to pay attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I will ask Mehdi maybe to try to answer that question regarding the data transfer and the need to have it restructured, as His Excellency mentioned in his region, how countries and other players are actively gearing up towards that objective. And Mehdi, can you add something on that? But I would also seek assistance of the ambassador to try to bring him or somebody from his country and the region to have some exchanges and just illustrate the data transfer or the experience transfer between that part of the world and the MENA region. Mehdi, you have the floor.
Okay, so I'll give you some of our experience on this matter, and the data regulation around the data is key and is somehow can be a challenge for, if I take companies like us today in our communication and our day-to-day work and our business activities with the European companies. We are facing more and more challenges due to the lack of regulation in Tunisia, for example, about the data privacy and the data as such. And it's definitely a key challenge and a key topic to address. And regulators have to address it and have to locally in each country develop the right setup to be compliant to the international rules. And as I mentioned, in fact, most of we do a lot of our business activities with European companies, French and German companies, and we are facing more difficulties today to bring some of the jobs to Tunisia. Why? Because of the risk on the data, and because Tunisia doesn't have a clear framework on protecting the data, especially European data coming to our country. So, I mean, this is key for our industry. This is key for our startups, and it's key to be a part of the world and to be able to connect and to have an easy communication with international players in this area. So yes, there is a lack. Yes, regulators have to work on it, and yes, regulators have to be to develop frameworks which are aligned with the global frameworks, which we can see in areas like the European Community, which is the area where we work most. We have very strict and very clear rules in our French branch and French activity, but we don't have the same rules in our activities in the MENA region. So yes, I agree with Mr. Ambassador. It's a challenge, and our regulators have to have it as on top of their priority list.
Ambassador, thank you, Mahdi. I think this is another opportunity that has to be explored between the experience of the Republic of Korea and the other players in AI in our region. We will perhaps with
just Nejib, just I want to add on this point. We are arranging very soon a webinar with our German counterparts and with the German Tunisian Business Council, a specific topic on that, and we are bringing lawyers and experts from Europe and from North Africa to address specifically this point. It's a really hot topic, and we are, as a group in this industry, working on it.
Yes, maybe you could also explore the experience and the knowledge of our friends in Asia around what the Korean ambassador said. You will get in touch with the Korean ambassador in your jurisdiction, and of course I will further explore that with His Excellency the Ambassador of Korea in Bahrain to see where we could seek I would say answers to these very important questions. Do I see any other comments or questions? If not, I will thank all the speakers, my friends Farid Belhaj, Amel Saidan, Sheikh Aisha Al Khalifa, Tosin Parwujulu, Mahajwini, and of course Yusra Zouri, all the participants, the diplomats, the ambassadors, and the other friends who joined us today. And this is just another step in a long journey that we will explore and take together in the near future for more follow-up. I thank you very much on behalf of my colleagues at the International Peace Institute, Middle East and North Africa, and wish you all the best and success in bringing artificial intelligence to our daily life in a constructive way. Thank you so much.